Hey friends, what's up? Welcome to my Season 5 mid-season patch tier list. Quite a few changes, quite a few bigger balance changes I'd say. Some I'm really excited for personally. The way I usually do these tier lists, I try to find a good middle ground between all ranks, because some heroes are really good low ranks, while they're very bad high ranks, and vice versa, right? Like a character like Tracer, if you play her perfectly, she's insane, but you know, on low ranks, if you don't play her perfectly, she has more weaknesses. So this is an average between all ranks, from highest to lowest, and let's get right into it. Ana, no changes. I rated her B in the last tier list I did for Season 1, and I was actually kind of wrong on that. Ana is really, really good. She's like top 10 material. And with the meta still being Junker Queen, Ramattra, and those heroes, Ana's sleep that value is really, really high, right? Like those targets, the tanks that are currently meta are very easy to sleep, right? But I think she's gonna see a bit less play than before. That being said, still easily very good tier again, but no changes for her. Ashe, also no changes. Still the most solid hit scan, especially with a Mercy pocket. Ashe is not super hard to play. You can get value out of her. Bob is a really good ult, and yeah, easily very good tier, A tier. Baptiste, not much to say. He's meta. If you want a solo carry, low ranks, high ranks, it doesn't matter. Baptiste is insane. He's a DPS in the support role with the tanks that might get more into the meta. One of them is Reinhardt. Just a really good character. Not much to say. Bastion, he's not better than bad tier. He is good in some cheesy comps. He's very good at bursting people down, and if you don't pay attention to him, especially on low ranks, Bastion is not a bad pick. I have to put him in bad if I have a bad tier, honestly. Brigitte, she's really good in certain comps. Then again, she doesn't provide a lot of single target healing, and you can't really play her with a lot of the other supports, right? Like trying to play Brig, Lucio can work in a Junker Queen comp, but when you have another tank, it might be very hard to keep them alive. High playable tier, not hard meta. Cassidy. I actually really dislike the changes they've done so far. The magnetic grenade now attaches to anything that is on your screen, basically. If you're a Doomfist enjoyer or a Tracer enjoyer, you know what that means. If you're hindered, you're dead. You can't use any movement abilities. It's basically a stun at this point. But that doesn't make him OP. But he's really annoying to play against. I just think he's an unfun character to play against right now. I would rather have the Incendiary innate back. Doomfist, I rated really high. Like, Doomfist is one of the few characters that's good against Junker Queen. Probably the tank that suffers the most against Cassidy. Like, if you jump in on Doomfist, you commit, and the Cassidy throws a nade at you, you're dead. You can start off on Doomfist, and if the enemy has cast, you swap off, basically. Like, I think he's niche. I've seen a lot of Doomfist players this season that are actually doing really well. I don't think he's awful. He's not great either, though. D.Va, always a solid pick. Pick, not pig, sorry. The thing is, when D.Va is good, the game is fun. When D.Va is oppressive, the game is unfun. She's definitely not a meta tank though. Certain scenarios where it's really beneficial to swap to D.Va. If the enemy has a flyer combo like a Pharah Mercy, and your DPS can't seem to handle them, pick D.Va. You will help out your DPS. D.Va is a really good character, situational, good to shut down hit scans. Echo, really, really good as well. You can play her without a Mercy, but you know, she just becomes insanely enhanced when you have a Mercy with her. No changes though in this patch. I think she's also upper B+ tier, if not low A tier. Genji, no changes again. Stop complaining. Genji mains, yes, I'm gonna put him in very good tier. He's super playable. There are a few situations where you can't play Genji. On long range maps, he is not the greatest, but on anything else, he's really, really good. Like, he has 30 bullets now, or 30 shurikens, I should say. And there's just nothing wrong with the guy. He's a great dive character, not much to say. That being said, he is a hard to play character, right? So if you play in lower ranks and then you blade in 1v5 and die, don't complain about the hero, that's your skill. Hanzo got a nerf that I didn't notice once. I mean, he didn't change. He's still a spam machine. I still dislike the character. Like, against Widow, you can at least not peek his Widow's line of sight and maybe live. Hanzo just spams around the corner, and as soon as you peek, you die. The Overwatch League players call playing Hanzo going to the casino, because it is just a gamble. He's easily playable, if not very good. Junkrat is... I do think Junkrat now, with again no changes, is probably the worst DPS in the game. But there is still some Junkrats that make him work really well. Like, okay, he's good enough to not be a hard throw. He just lacks the one-shot potential unless you're really precise. He's very situational in the fact that he's only good on certain maps, right? Some maps you can't play him at all, like super wide open maps. You don't get enough value out of him. Like, the thing is, if you make Junkrat too good, then the game becomes unfun. I don't know anyone that enjoys playing against a Junkrat, so... Junker Queen, super solid. Of course, map dependent. If you want to take the high ground, Junker Queen is not the best. So depending on the map, you want to maybe play a Winston or a D.Va instead. Super self-sustainable, like one of the hardest carry characters in the game. If you're in bronze or gold or GM, you can keep yourself alive. If you have bad supports, you just pick Junker Queen, you hit your abilities and you regen yourself. We're getting into the changes. I know I said that there are a few changes and some of them are quite significant. Still, it started with A, you know, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now we're at K. So apparently the devs hate every character that comes before the letter K. And here's the first buff. Healing of Huda's recovery time got reduced from 1 second to 0.9 seconds. After you release the Ofudas, how long it takes until you can release the next Ofudas. It's faster by a bit. It's a buff. I don't know why. Kiriko is really good. Gonna increase her healing even more. The dev's reasoning behind it is when Kiriko has to go full healing, it feels kind of hard to keep targets up, but I think Kiriko did not need a healing buff, and this might put her over the edge again, where she becomes better than Bap again. Lucio, again, no changes. Super playable though. If you play Rush with Ram, Junker Queen or Reinhardt now, he's really good. If you watch any of the World Cup, he is being played a ton. He just functions really well with the tanks that are meta right now. And while he himself might not be like the strongest, he's never weak, right? Lucio never has a meta where he's really weak. He's just getting started, man. You want to probably play something like Kiri Lucio. Or like Bab Lucio. Mei got no changes this patch, but like last week or whenever you're watching this, she did get a semi-revert of the changes. Freezing still applies that new debuff and you still do more damage to it, but she also does more damage now on left click while slowing a bit less. I think overall now she's in the best state of the last 3 iterations of Mei we had. Last time I ranked her in S, I thought she was really gonna run the meta, but it turned out to be not as strong. I still think she's super solid, and again, works great with and against Junker Queen and Ramattra. She's great, she's great. I'm not gonna put her at the very top of A tier, but super good. Mercy. No matter where I put Mercy on this list, someone is gonna hate me. And Mercy is a hard character to balance. I do think you'll see more of her because of soldier buffs. So she's gonna have more targets she gets value out of. Playable, upper playable, almost very good. Moira is bad. She's actually neat. There's very few reasons to play Moira over any of the supports. Moira is just not very great at anything other than sucking. A mediocre support, to be fair, is very good in low ranks. DPS, they probably will lose. Great support in low ranks and then gets weaker and weaker the higher the rank is. Orisa got a buff to Fortify. The damage reduction is now 50% instead of 40%. If you play against an Orisa and she fortifies, you don't want to shoot her. You want to force her cooldowns out, her spin and then fortify, and then you burst her down, right? I don't think the issue was staying alive in Fortify. It is a buff, but I don't see how Orisa is gonna be a lot stronger with it. 40% damage reduction like it was before is already enough to where everyone is discouraged of shooting Orisa, be more survivable than an ult, so in that sense it's good, but she's not a great tank with no other buffs. She's not gonna like suddenly be viable, maybe playable. Pharah! Flyers are OP. I have made up my mind after watching Yisan, even though he's the best Pharah in the game. No changes, she's great. I do think we see more of her right now because the meta revolves so much around tanks that really can't shoot the Pharah back, like Ramattra. Play more Pharah, guys, if you're a projectile character. Ramattra got a slight buff. When I say slight buff, I mean it's gonna make him significantly better if you play him correctly. A Ravenous Vortex, so he's slow, the E, now passes through enemies and can only bounce off shields. So now you can easily throw the E behind them and you don't have to worry about accidentally bouncing it off the enemy. Even if they're in your face, you can throw it right at them and it's gonna land right below them, melee range, and gonna slow them instantly. Which is a very big quality of life change, and Ramattra was already like being played a ton. I don't think this buff is gonna make him like only playable tank, but he's definitely S tier. Super good. One of the best ults in the game, amazing with Ana as well. Reaper, no changes. I don't know why I created this throw tier when there's no throw character. There is one. Here we go.
Kill you! yourself!
Niche in the sense that he's super map dependent, super comp dependent. Great in rush against rush to burst down certain tanks, like he's amazing against Monkey, he's amazing against Ramattra, but he's not awful, depending on the map. Reinhardt, pretty big buff. His shield is now 1400 HP instead of 1200 HP. It doesn't sound like a lot, but 200 HP is 200 HP. One of the ways to beat Rein right now is to just get his shield low, force him out, break his shield and kill him. It's gonna make him more survivable. It's gonna make it so he can protect his team more. He's gonna see more play. Easily, I think, A tier. The thing is, he's not great against Junker Queen and especially Ramattra, right? So that's the one thing kind of holding him back. So I'll put him a bit lower. Sigma, same story for him. Situational, poke character. Great on long range maps, great on Circuit Royale, Havana. No changes for him. Sojourn got a buff.
Oh no!
I said this in my last tier list. I'm actually kind of confused on why not more people play Sojourn. And then I started playing Sojourn more this season myself again. And I came to the conclusion that she's just a really hard hero to get the full value out of. And the devs realized, and they buffed her left click, the fast firing projectile that charges up the railgun. The number of shots it takes to reach maximum spread is now 12 bullets instead of 8. If you burst, the first 3 bullets are going to be almost 100% accurate on point. It's still a projectile, so you still have that variance with like not being able to hit all of them because you have to predict kind of where they're moving, but they also reduce the spread of the left click by 12%. So both of those combined should make it easier for a skilled Sojourn to charge up railgun. I don't think it's going to do that much. I think Sojourn is already very close to S tier. And the only reason I refuse to put her in S tier is because I think she's only amazing if you play her really, really well. She's kind of like Tracer in that sense. If you learn her, you will get rewarded. She's an amazing character. Soldier! It happened, guys. After 7 years of me, I've played this game for 7 years. And Soldier had some buffs during those 7 years. But this is one of the biggest ones we've seen so far. The primary fire, heavy pulse rifle, damage got increased from 18 damage to 19. The biotic field, so the healing per second got increased from 35 per second to 40 per second. In addition to that, his Helix rocket explosive damage got increased from 80 to 90. It's the splash damage that got increased and not the direct impact damage. So if you had multiple targets, all of those targets will take 10 more damage. Combined with the other 2 factors are gonna make Soldier easy A tier. I don't think he's gonna be S tier. He will still suffer from the fact that he has troubles bursting people down, killing them really fast, but you will need on average a bullet and a half less to kill. It's just going to increase the time to kill on a lot of kills. Every single one of those fight engagements where you hit a direct helix, you will need at least 1 less bullet. And that effect is going to be amplified with Mercy damage boost. 1 bullet and a headshot is going to be enough to kill anyone. And that's where the burst potential comes in. Soldier has a burst now, at least with a Mercy pocket. Thank you, Blizzard, for finally buffing him. I'm gonna have fun. If I haven't uploaded it yet, next video is gonna be a highlight reel of the new Soldier, what he can do. He is very good, and you're gonna see a lot more Soldiers in your games. Sombra. It's so funny to me, Sombra was always so good, and people never realized, and then they watch the World Cup and they see every team play Sombra. No changes, by the way, this patch. Because Sombra is really good. By the end of this year, I think they said Sombra is gonna get a rework. So it's gonna be interesting to see what that is. The issue is that she is only really good if your team follows up on your hacks. We all know ladder, nobody follows up on anything, but good character, very good character. Now to the more interesting changes. Symmetra and Torb. The devs thought that the turrets on both of those characters do too much value by themselves. To which I agree. You put them down and they play the game for you. The enemy already is at a disadvantage because let's face it, Torb turret aims better than most like at least gold players, right? What they're doing is they reduced the turret damage per second of the sentry turrets from 40 to 25. And the good thing about Symmetra turrets, if you set them up, is the slow. So this is really not a big nerf, and in addition, they counter buffing the rest of her kit. The secondary fire, so the right click at full charge impact damage got increased from 45 to 50, and the explosion damage of the right click got increased from 45 to 50. 2 shots to kill a 200 HP target instead of 3 shots. And in addition to that, she now has a new mechanic on her left click, her beam. As long as she shoots shields or barriers, the blue thing on the character, like Zenyatta has shields, or barriers, so Reinhardt barrier, Ramattra barrier, you know, she gets up to 30 HP per second health back, so she heals herself. Up to 30 means the more charge she has, the more healing she gets. Now assume she's getting healed during that. How are you gonna kill a Symmetra? So insanely scary change. And it has me kind of worried that Sim is gonna run down the ladder. Sim is a niche pick. There's not a lot of Sim players, at least on high rank, but this is definitely the best state Sim has ever been in. Now for my Torb mains here, I have less happy news. They reduced the turret damage from 14 per second to 11, and they increase the cooldown of the turret cast from 10 to 12 seconds, okay? Which means if the turret breaks now, you will have to wait 2 extra seconds to put it down again, and it does less damage. But what they're buffing is not really the damage. The overload, so the E, now automatically reloads 6 ammo on use. He can start shooting no matter if he's full on ammo or not. And the secondary fire spread got reduced from 5 to 4.5 degrees. If you're precise with the right click, you can do more damage. That being said, most Torb aims are not really, sorry, no offense, you're not really known for having good aim. That's why you play Torb, to have the turret. So I do think overall this is actually a nerf to Torb. Especially the cooldown, right? If you break the turret, you have more space to breathe as the enemy team. Otherwise, he doesn't become insanely scary like Sim, where you're like, oh shit, if he left clicks me, he gets health back. Torb is getting the playable tier for me. Talking about Tracer, easy S there. I rated her A tier at the start of season tier list because I thought the spread was gonna be a big nerf. It's a slight nerf. If you play Tracer perfectly, she's still the best DPS in the game. She's the highest skill ceiling character in the game. If you don't make 100% use of her, she becomes very weak very fast. So you have to play her well. Widowmaker, actually, surprisingly, the nerf did a bit. There were some situations in the last like 3 weeks that I played. I didn't die because of the range falloff. She's still very good and she's still insanely oppressive on long range maps, but she's a bit weaker than before. Monkey, top 3 tanks. If you want to play dive, Monkey is your go-to pick other than Diva, but I do think Diva is a bit more situational. Not quite Ramattra and Junkrat Queen level, at least on ladder in my opinion. Not much to say, no changes. Great character. Wrecking Ball, the manual reload of his gun is now 1.6 seconds instead of 2. Most ball mains, if you know anything about ball, they didn't even reload a lot because if you go into ball form, it auto reloads your gun after 2 seconds anyways, right? The devs are saying there's more of a reason now to actually reload manually, but it's not nearly big enough of a buff to make him viable. Not quite throw level Roadhog, but other than that, probably the weakest tank in the game right now. Zarya, she's good. No changes. Great against like Junkrat spam, great against Junkrat Queen. If you play it correctly, can hold her own. I'll put her in the upper playable tier. Zenyatta finally got a nerf. Now that we nerfed Zenyatta, we can also nerf Baptiste, please. Thank you. The Discord Orb maximum range cast is now 30 meters instead of 40. And in addition to that, the wear off of the Discord is now 1.5 seconds instead of 2. Before, if you got discorded, you wait behind the wall for 2 seconds and the Discord wears off. So both of those combined are gonna make it harder for Zenyatta to apply the Discord early, and it's gonna be a bit riskier for the Zenyatta to apply the Discords because he has to be a bit closer. Good nerf for Zenyatta. I don't think it's gonna make him awful because Transcendence is still good. He still does insane damage, right? He's a DPS in the support role. Quite a significant nerf, and I think we'll see way less Zenyatta. And my boy, the worst. He got way better, don't get me wrong. After all those buffs, he's finally in a state where he's not a throw. Most of his abilities only give you value in very specific situations. If you look at the pedal platform, it's only useful. You have a DPS right next to you that you can lift up, or if you're being harassed and you want to get away. Life Grip, it is a reactive play only. And while it's pretty good, it's just not as good. His damage is still weaker than most other supports, arguably all the supports but Mercy. And he still has an insanely big hitbox, still one of the easiest supports to kill. Tree is also not great, you know.
He's already dead.
And I'll end the video with this. I wouldn't worry about meta too much, no matter what rank you are. I would worry about what you enjoy playing the most. And if you feel really good and you feel like you're a really skilled Lifeweaver, there's nothing wrong with picking Lifeweaver. Just maybe have a backup, like a second support you can pick if Weaver doesn't work. Nothing wrong with playing any of those characters unless you Roadhog. Then uninstall the game. Until next time, see you guys, bye bye.